In this video we are going to talk about why Korean students commit suicide from academic pressures. Please like this video and subscribe to this channel for future updates before starting this video. Korea is noted for its vibrant culture as well as being one of the world's most technologically advanced nations. According to CNN, 82.7% of the country's population uses the internet, with 78.5% using smartphones, as of 2013. All of this is valid, but Korea also has an extraordinarily high rate of suicide among students. Korea has the highest suicide rate of any OECD, Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, member state, according to Wikipedia. Every day, Korean students struggle to keep up with their demanding schedules in order to gain admission to a good university. In Korea, students must take a Sunung exam in November at the end of each semester of high school. It's so important that planes are grounded on test day for fear of disturbing the kid, according to NPR. In order to stop humiliating their families, students in Korea commit suicide due to high stress levels and feelings of hopelessness, as well as a fear of not being good enough at their studies. Academics can literally mean the difference between life and death for students in Korea. The 14-hour days in classrooms represent South Korean society's powerful emphasis on educational achievement, according to NPR. It's absurd to believe that students would study for 14 hours every day. That will leave them with just 10 hours to sleep, eat, use the bathroom, and do what they want with their bodies. 4 students and a professor at Korea's KAIST University committed suicide as a result of the university's tension. This high suicide rate at KAIST creates chaos because it shows that people at KAIST can struggle or be miserable even though they go to the top school, according to the Wall Street Journal. Even if a child attends a prestigious university, the relentless pressure and rivalry will lead to suicidal ideation. Family conflict, depression, and exam stress were the main triggers, according to Anon HQ. In 2012, 139 South Korean students committed suicide for these cases. Family conflict, depression, and exam stress were the essential triggers. Parents put pressure on their children to succeed in school, but as everyone can see, this leads to mental harm and depression. Kids wrote notes expressing their fear of being scolded by their parents if they received poor grades. Since safety should always come first, parents should come up with a new method of educating their children to do well in school. Fear of parental rejection and feelings of academic inadequacy are characteristics shared by the majority of student suicide cases, according to Anon HQ. For Korean students, getting into a good university needs hard work in high school. If they believe or feel they aren't good enough, this is what leads to suicide. Some students would rather die than face the disappointment that would be shown to their parents if they received poor grades. Education officials are on high alert as more students commit suicide for a variety of reasons, including constant stress from school and strained relationships with family or friends. Suicide attempts have been made by students as young as first grade. To help combat the problem, the Ministry of Education conducted a psychoanalysis of suicidal students and created a situation study. According to the survey, 37 grade school students attempted suicide in 2011, but that number increased dramatically to 258 in 2015, and 451 last year. Many analysts believe the number of unreported cases would significantly surpass the revealed number because the figures were focused on students' reports to their schools. Along with the increase in suicide attempts, the number of students who successfully commit suicide has risen in recent years, from 93 in 2015 to 108 in 2016 and 114 in 2017. Many children in the world, according to experts, are experiencing a psychological crisis. Suicide attempts are made by elementary students. Hallam University has been performing psychoanalysis of people who commit suicide since 2014, at the behest of the Education Ministry, by collecting testimony from people close to them and their suicide notes. The university produced a detailed research study on students using the testimony of family members, teachers, and peers to help understand the sharply growing suicide rate among grade school students. The age range has been younger, which is the most noticeable change in the recent suicide rate. Last year, 213 students, or 47%, of the 451 students who attempted suicide, were in high school. The number of elementary students, on the other hand, has increased. There were no attempted suicides by elementary school students in 2011. However, in 2015, there were 19 and in 2016, there were 36. 4 of the 36 students were in the first and third grades. 5 students in elementary school were among the 114 students who committed suicide last year. Experts also concluded that students tend to experience pressure at school at a young age, but that they have no one to turn to for advice because the majority of them come from dual-income homes, with their parents working the majority of the time. Last year, 277 students attempted suicide due to depression and anxiety, while 125 attempted suicide due to frustration. Experts also believe that quick access to content on smartphones played a role in the rise in suicide rates. A suicidal song called "Smash Your Head and Commit Suicide" became a YouTube sensation among elementary school students earlier this year. Uploading selfies of teens causing self-inflicted pain has also become a common trend among teenagers. In July, the National Police Agency and the Ministry of Health and Welfare conducted a 2-week surveillance of online and mobile suicidal content and discovered over 8,000 cases, a 38-fold rise over the same time last year. Self-injury was depicted in 84% of the images. Children are overexposed to suicidal images and videos through internet broadcast and social media, and they are becoming accustomed to the concept, and some are following suit, said Hong Yun Ju, a psychology professor at Hallam University Medical School. Last month, legislators introduced legislation designating suicidal content as detrimental to children and prohibiting children's access to it. No suicides are a secret on Jeju. Experts say that in order to avoid student suicide, students should seek clinical help to relieve their stress and anxiety. Suicide experts have been hired by the Jeju Special Self-Governing Provincial Office of Education since 2015. Students who attempt suicide or self-injury receive prompt treatment. After evaluating the pupil, the consultant and the homeroom teacher interact frequently and provide the most up-to-date information. In the last 3 years, Jeju has not had a single student commit suicide as a result of the initiative. Suicidal ideation is on the rise among young adults. Due to constant stress, 1 out of every 7 college graduates looking for work has considered suicide. According to a survey conducted in May by the Seoul National University Borame Medical Center on 124 college graduates looking for work, 40% said they had encountered symptoms related to depression, while 15.3% said they felt suicidal. Respondents who majored in liberal arts or social science were more stressed than those who majored in natural science or engineering. Student loan borrowers were the most stressed. One Korean high school student wanted to speak out about the stress and mental anguish he or she was experiencing. Most Korean high school students are going through the same thing every day, which is hell, he said. As soon as the semester begins, the school begins to become frightening. I just get 3 hours of sleep every night. Even if you're only in first grade, there's a lot of tension and rivalry among students. Because everyone aspires to attend college or university, the educational system has devolved into a competition for academic excellence among students. I'm unsure and concerned about my future. Is it possible for me to get into the university of my choice? What will it be like in 20 years? Is it possible for me to find work? I really want the gates of hell, semester, to open as soon as possible so I can get out of here. I've got 2 years left. I used to have a hard time understanding people who commit suicide, but now I'm depressed and consider suicide many times a day. It's no wonder that South Korea's youth, high school and college students, have one of the highest suicide rates in the world, with schoolwork being the primary cause. Furthermore, it was discovered that students studying in school for 12 hours a day, rather than their usual 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. schooling session, is common and strongly encouraged. Due to their intense schedules, it is normal for them to sleep 4 hours a night as finals are approaching. They'd run home for a fast meal and get ready for night classes at private schools after finishing their regular schooling hours of 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. It's past midnight by the time they get home, and they only have a few hours of sleep before the next day begins. If you sleep 3 hours a night, you might get into a top sky university. If you sleep 4 hours a night, you may get into another university. If you sleep 5 hours or more a night, particularly in your senior year of high school, forget about getting into any university, according to a South Korean proverb. While our high school years were not without tension, they were not as demanding as theirs. It's sad to think that instead of hanging out with friends, their teen years will be packed with books and classes. However, keep in mind that grades aren't anything. What are your thoughts on our video? What do you think about present situation of education in Korea? Please let us know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video and would like to hear from me again, please subscribe and turn on the notification before leaving. Thank you for watching us.